Mate, I was wrong. I like Assassin's Creed again.
You do this every f***ing year! Good morning, everyone. I'm Jules from What Culture, here with Scott, and Scott apparently has played more Assassin's Creed and apparently has now changed his opinion entirely.
It's the only thing that I've played since Friday, and
It's not the only thing you do, because you do this with everything.
Not everything.
You argue
Some
every point.
things.
Yes, so you've had more time with Assassin's Creed, and
Have.
you came off quite negatively in
Very
your
negative.
first impressions,
Yep.
as I haven't played it still, so don't shoot the messenger on that one. But you have now changed your tone, and
Yes.
I am here to discuss with you.
Do you remember when we did this with Assassin's Creed Syndicate? Remember we did it with Black Flag? Remember we did it with Assassin's Creed 3? Remember we did it with AC Unity? Remember we did it with Assassin's Creed in general? Because we're doing that again.
I don't even remember what happened yesterday, mate.
Assassin's Creed, although it starts, I'll still maintain those first impressions. I still think this
Okay.
game starts terribly.
Okay.
But it does lock into place, and I like it a hell of a lot. I just think it just takes time to get there.
Well, walk us through what has changed your opinion.
Well, one of the main things was so the reason that I was so disappointed by it initially was just that realization that they haven't made a Horizon. They haven't made like a very polished game. They took time off, and this is still very much an Assassin's Creed game by Ubisoft. Like,
Okay.
One of the initial things that hit me when I first started playing it was just that feeling of like, okay, these animations feel the same. There are still bugs, glitches, and texture
Yeah.
pops and all that kind of thing.
Even though they said they'd rebuilt it from the ground up.
Yeah, like there's always, I mean, obviously the most initial defense is like, well, there's always going to be something like that, and it's like, yeah, true, but something like The Witcher proved that you can do a game as big as this and have it be more polished. Obviously, again, that game took time to get to that state. But my point is, those things hit you up front. Like the new combat system is very like finicky and quite hard to get used to. It's like a very sped up version of like Dark Souls or Bloodborne's combat.
Yeah.
Which, because they give you that as the very first thing you do, it just makes you go like, well, what am I doing? Who am I fighting or whatever?
Yeah.
And they rush through the story stuff, and I think it makes a really bad, really rushed first impression. I've seen that like opinion sort of echoed online a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not just me.
The thing that I saw that kind of really put me off and made me laugh was when some guy posted up saying Assassin's Creed Origins literally interrupts itself to have a menu advertising the store. Like, you
Yes.
pans around, you get your horse, and you get to control your character.
Yep.
But as soon as that happens, it goes, by the way, you can visit the store.
It's, yeah,
It's like,
so you get...
Okay, that seems like a joke almost.
The thing is, right, there are two worthwhile things... Oh, hello.
Daddy needs his nectar.
There are two worthwhile things about the loot boxes. Are you going to be all right? Do you want...
I just need one to get me.
Loot boxes in games, mate.
Yep.
Yep. We're still dealing with that, but anyway. So the whole thing with the loot boxes, yes, after the game gives you its first title card, which comes after the first like few hours of side missions and all that kind of jazz, it does pop up and say, hey, do you want to have a better experience? Why don't you go to the store and get some boosts and stuff? But it is more worthwhile and more a more long-standing thing to say that I completely forgot there were even microtransactions in this, because aside from that very first thing that it does, they are not surfaced in the game at all.
Okay,
like
what do they actually provide, these loot boxes?
They're just a different currency. They're called Helix credits or Helix coins, and you just use them to buy additional skins. It's all cosmetic stuff.
Why can't they just call them mug money?
Well, they could call it mug money, Cuphead, Mugman, but they don't do it.
It should just like say like you're a mug if you buy it, but you still can.
Well, yeah, but in terms of like the main progression, like I said, I completely forgot those things were even in there. When I've seen some people talk about the microtransactions and the loot-based aspect of it, I was like, oh yeah, because it's not like Shadow of War where like the game pops up with a literal prompt being like, why don't you buy the thing that should go here?
Yeah.
Like Assassin's Creed is first and foremost a single-player experience, and it's meant to be a story-focused thing. And if you don't care about loot boxes, which I certainly do not, then you don't need to care about them at all.
Speaking of microtransactions, the loot. We talked about the Helix coins and stuff like that. Go on then. I know you got something to say about
Ubisoft. Go on then.
Go on then.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, right? I like the loot system in this. Take that in. Get yourself another beer. Yeah, I mean, the way that they do it, it's all right. It's an all right loot system in a video game in 2017, mate. Do you want some Helix? Do you want, Michael? Do you want to buy? Do you want some weapons or something? Hey, you can get weapons and you can get some free stuff for as much as you want. Although, Yeah, so the way that it works is you're regularly getting a good stream of weapons and it's mostly weapons. You can get outfits as well, but it's mostly weapons.
Yeah.
There's 3 tiers, like your basic blue crap, then you've got rares and legendaries. You do get them at a steady clip. You're always getting something better, and it is all number crunching, which usually I hate in games because it's this thing's plus 20.
I love statistics.
I love statistics, but I don't love that this sword is plus 20 and I need a plus 21 to beat this next thing.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is a very artificial way to manufacture difficulty, and that stuff gets annoying. But the loot grind in Assassin's Creed is very lucrative, and it gives you a lot very fast. It doesn't make you feel like you're grinding to get stuff. It's very
good.
It rolls stuff out very easily. All you need to do is just hop into your Eagle Vision, pinpoint a treasure chest, and get something nice.
Okay, right.
That stuff's great. The only downside is that overall there's not that much variety. There's a billion different types of spears and swords and stuff, but the actual buffs that they have, there's not that much to them.
Right.
Maybe there's bleeding damage, poison damage, extra crit chance.
But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and so across the course of the game, I never really got any one thing where I was I'm sticking with that forever. You kind of grade them at a vendor if you really like the look of something or whatever, but I never found one item that stuck out because it's more like Diablo. It's more like, I can't wait to get the next thing,
Yes, okay.
Which really, really works.
Well, that sounds like it's still enjoyable, bit better than just having 1,000,005 weapons that you're just never going to use.
It's not Destiny.
No.
Maybe it is.
But you listed a lot of problems.
I did. Hit me with my problems.
You listed that there was a lot of bugs and glitches. You listed that the combat wasn't great. You listed that the story felt kind of a bit lackluster. And you said that there were only a few moments that you'd enjoyed.
Yep.
So how can you talk to past Scott like that, mate? He's a nice guy.
Well, he tries to be, but
he's angry.
So let's go one by one. The bugs and the glitches, they were more a reflection on how disappointed I was that the game in general wasn't more smoothed over. And
by the way, I love that people defended it by saying it's this is what day one patches are for. It's yeah, but the point is, mate, it shouldn't need it.
It shouldn't
need it. But anyway, that's beside the point.
In complete honesty, I did encounter more bugs and glitches when I started. More animation bugs. There are still animation bugs.
Right.
You're still going to encounter things where you try and go one way, and his automatic telegraphing will take you in a different direction. Yeah. You still have things like that. You still have enemies, different patterns, NPC patterns, where they get stuck doing loops back and forward. I had the audio drop out altogether in a cutscene, just no voiceover, only the background. All I could hear was an eagle in the background, and the characters are talking to each other in complete silence. Those things are in there.
Yeah.
I just think that over time, I've spent about 30 odd hours with it, maybe more now. Those things meet out over time, and they don't get in the way. That's the fundamental thing, is they don't get in the way. They did when you first play. That's why I focused on them so much. I think, like I said, it makes a bad first impression.
Yeah.
But once you learn to accept that, hey, it's not going to be a Horizon, it's not going to be perfect. You can start to focus on the positives. The story stuff picks the hell up after the first few hours.
Okay.
I've seen people say that the story is quite divisive, but I actually really like it. You've kind of got this.
Why? What's making it? I mean,
no
spoilers, but
no spoilers. But some people have said that Bayek is the best protagonist since Ezio, and other people have just said that the story's all over the place and can't go anywhere.
Though, is it?
It's not that hard. People like Edward Kenway from Black Flag, and I would say that Arno is awesome from Unity. I would actually say that a lot of the protagonists are fine. Jacob and Evie were great from Syndicate. But anyway, the whole point with Bayek is that he is avenging the death of his son or daughter. I actually forget what sex the kid is, but he loses his kid,
right?
And he's basically got these hieroglyphics on his arm relating to these different targets he's going to kill. And every time he kills them, he guts one of them off his arm because he's like, that's all I live for now.
That's not very healthy.
It's not very healthy, and he's in the desert, so he's not going to last.
That's going to get infected.
Lizards and wind. But so he's basically trying to kill a lot of people. But the way that they show him and his wife Aya, and the fact that they're both so consumed by their revenge, but they're also still very sexually active. It gives this weird dark sense to how they're actually operating, and I like that.
Is it like the film Rush? Do they get off?
I haven't seen Rush.
Is it like they?
I mean Rush the documentary.
No, kind of like the one. I think it's Rush, where it's they get sexually aroused by car crashes. So
that's Crash.
Crash.
Cronenberg's Crash.
That's what I mean. Yes, is it like Crash?
It's not. No, they're not getting off on it, but she definitely brings up hey, I just stabbed a guy in the eyes. Let's make love. And it's just okay. But I do think that gives a weird dimension to or it acknowledges how much a protagonist in an Assassin's Creed game or in a lot of video games has to be okay with murder.
Yes.
And I do quite like the way that they frame how much it's taking over their lives.
It's
that's good.
They're always painted as kind of morally grey characters, really, aren't they? Because it's just you are trying to stop a greater evil, but you are killing a lot of people.
That was one of the things in Watch Dogs 2, because Marcus Holloway just didn't care. It was never acknowledged in that game's story that he was
bang,
just electrocuting people and whatever.
Hashtag lol.
dropping cars on them. But yeah, so the story, like I said, you get way more cutscenes, you get way more interaction between Bayek and Aya. You get more of a sense of what their grander mission is, what the stuff in the past of how that affected them, and the present day stuff, which it tends to divide the fan base. People, do you care about the present day stuff in Assassin's Creed?
Not at all.
Right, so I do, and I love that stuff. And so that tends to divide people. Either you think it's a huge distraction, or you're quite glad when they keep peppering all this, like, oh, where's it going to go? What's happening in the real world? The stuff that they do with that, again, they managed to do it in a way that plays to both sides, because you come out of the Animus. Actually, I can't describe it in detail because the embargo says that I can't, but you do some stuff in the present day, and it's optional how much you want to invest in it. Let's just say that.
Okay.
If you want to get back into the Animus and keep going,
so there's a lot more freedom that comes as the game progresses, effectively, to do all these lots of different activities.
Yeah, and that goes into another thing, which is this is literally Ubisoft going like, hey, The Witcher 3 was big and worked and was really cool.
Let's do that.
Yeah. And so again, it's one of those things that just like initially when you see it, you go, well, all they've done is replicated The Witcher 3. But then
ain't no bad thing.
Exactly. And so like if I'm being more objective and if I'm meeting out my expectations and I'm just being like, okay, well, what actually is here? Then it's another Witcher 3 in terms of the base mechanics of what you're doing.
So you had a gut punch when you first started playing this game, and now that you have played it, that gut punch has now turned to a soft caress.
It's a nice little belly rub.
And now maybe a back massage as well. Happy ending. And their option.
All that stuff. Yeah, I think it sorts itself out, and its mechanics and the amount of content that is here. Like so many side missions and things to do and things to see.
Hopefully, there's no feathers.
There aren't any. There's not any. The only collectibles are more like treasure loot based because you're always buying new things. But they roll together a really nice sense of progression. In terms of like you're either using like you can just pop into your eagle view and then use him to find like bits of treasure or a tomb or like a side mission or like a high target to take out. You're always going between different things to do, and that makes it so playable. Like that's why I spent so much time with it, because I was like, well, I'm next to this next thing, I'll just go do this for a bit.
So flawed but enjoyable.
Flawed but enjoyable. We should talk about the combat though.
Go for it.
You've played Souls games. You love Souls games.
I love Souls
We
games.
love Souls games. Mm-hmm. So what they've tried to do is do like a Souls style combat thing. And I did talk about this in the first impressions, but it's just a very sped up version. You know when we went oh, go on, sorry.
I find that when you add in speed into a kind of methodical battle system like that, I find that it kind of loses the impact of it. I find if you're going to make a Devil May Cry spectacle shooter style arcadey thing, go for that. If you're going to make a clunky monkey junky clunk one, then go down that route. But just don't try and fuse the two, because you end up with ones that feel either that your hits have no impact or you end up with a Batman clone.
And so that's what they've tried to do, is fuse these things together. And again, it because the thing is, right, there is next to nothing in the way of a tutorial. I wonder if they just looked at Breath of the Wild and said, games don't need tutorials. People will figure it out. And it works in Breath of the Wild because that game's progression is way more like giving and more natural. It encourages you to see things. In this, the reason that I came away from it so negative immediately is because you just drop into it. It's like, here's quest, here's combat, here's this.
And if you feel like you can't do all of them well, then you feel like, well, I'm rubbish at the game.
A little bit.
It immediately puts you off it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think it would have benefited them wholeheartedly to have a set of missions that introduce you to Bayek's variety of abilities, like use your eagle to do this, then take them out this way, then go into a stack of hay and whistle at someone and do whatever. But the combat is this weird, like, sped up version of Souls. So it's very much meant to be like a one-on-one combat system where you're locking onto people, shoulder button attacks, you're dodging, you're parrying, all that kind of thing. And it can fall apart when you start fighting multiple enemies because it is so speedy and frenetic that, like, you're just getting attacked from behind with arrows that you couldn't possibly have defended against.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, that sounds like.
Yeah, and you do die a lot. But that encourages you to be stealthy, and this is easily, having played all of the Assassin's Creed games, the best stealth they've ever done.
Okay.
Not to say that it's a very good stealth system.
But it's the best.
It's the best they've ever done.
Right. Okay.
Because I mean, it took until AC Syndicate before we even got like a crouch, like a reliable crouch. It was one of those things where the way that you played all the Assassin's Creed games was you would just hide around a corner and be like, well, I guess I'm in cover then.
No. Like, sometimes they'd even be like, no, can still see you.
Yeah, exactly. And it was never that reliable. And unless you popped in on Eagle Vision, you never really knew where people were. This one, they give you a literal eagle's vision, and then you can tag everybody, or you can, like, you know, take your time going place to place.
They do make modular games, really, don't they?
Yeah.
They basically go, okay, let's just put this feature into this game, but let's also save it for this game. I mean,
they've got...
Eventually, Ubisoft are going to release the best game in the world because they perfected certain things and loads of other bits. And eventually they'll just be like, guys, let's just pull it all together.
Who do you want to be?
Yeah, and then it'll just be like, plop, there you go, Far Cry 10.
Microtransactions.
Yeah, maybe it would be like you have to buy every single level.
By your personality. But yeah, it's that was another thing that does hit you if you play a lot of video games and you've played a lot of Ubisoft stuff, you'll notice just how much they're picking and dropping in things from their other games. It does work though. Like, that's the thing. It's that balance of objectivity and subjectivity. As an Assassin's Creed fan, like, sadly, or whatever the hell I am, I do like Assassin's Creed a lot. But the actual mechanics at the heart of this do play very well, and they're very, like, some things are serviceable, some things are genuinely enjoyable, and there's nothing that genuinely gets in the way. I think the main first impression was that I was disappointed, because I wanted a Horizon. I wanted something that was polished and mirror sheen. Because Ubisoft have the budget. This should be the next Uncharted Horizon. It should be perfect. And it's not. And so that's, like, one of the things with it.
Frustrating with issues, but works. No, we're not talking about my penis. That was
For
Assassin's Creed
we're not talking
Origins.
about his penis.
Well, that has been the review for Assassin's Creed Origins. What are you going to give it out of 5?
After everything, and I know in the first impressions I was like, oh, it's more like a 2. I'm going to give it a 4. I think that the bugs and the animation problems do get in the way. It's definitely not a very polished game, but they satisfy the fans in a really cool way. The mission variety is, like, phenomenal. Like, every mission you do is a different thing.
Cool.
And the depth of the world is brilliant. You can literally do the whole digital tourism thing and just breathe in Egypt, climb up the Pyramid of Giza and leap off and all that kind of stuff.
Without all of the rubbish and the bin bags that are usually floating about. If you've actually ever been to Egypt, all the fact that it's like the city is right there next to it. They don't show you that, do they?
They do not. The KFC is not there.
Yeah, the KFC.
Sadly.
Yeah, that KFC that Carl Pilkington did when he's just sitting there eating. It's like, what bloody bin bag, isn't it? Brilliant. So that's been Scott's review of Assassin's Creed Origins. Let us know what you thought about it in the comments section below. Scott's given it a 4 out of 5. Do you agree or disagree with him? We'd love to hear from you. Then head back to the site whatculture.com for more news and articles and reviews like this every goddamn day. As always, I've been Jules.
I've been Scott.
And I need another beer because I am coming down hard. And we'll see you soon.
Bye, though.
Hello, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. These people down here made it happen, so go them. Well done them. If you're watching on a device that doesn't allow video cards, there aren't many of those anymore, then you'll be able to see Ben there instead.
Hey!
But otherwise, you can click those and watch another video.
Click on my general body area.